You said never let me go. You said never let me.
Hey guys, so it is now the 2nd of March, so it's time for my February wrap up. I am crocheting while I do it. So yeah, we're gonna run through what I ended up reading in February, what my plans are for March, and a new-ish reading concept because I'm slacking on my reading. So let's go through what I read in February first. So I read Killing the Witches by Bill O'Reilly, which I gave 3.5 stars. It was interesting for the first half, got really weird in the second half. But yeah, I would read more from the authors again. I finally finished Narcissus in Chains by Laurel K. Hamilton, which I gave 5 stars. I absolutely loved it. The new love interest coming in, and he just new powers. We finally got rid of whiny Prudy Anita, which was very nice. I then read back to back Seven Finctus Saints and Disciples of Chaos by M.K. Lobb. Respectively, I gave them 4.25 and 4 stars, purely because the ending of the duology wasn't the direction I wanted it to go, and they just could have been a little bit more done with the concept. But overall, if you're looking for a fantasy duology with an interesting magic system, then pick it up. It's pretty good. I then read Snow Globe by So-Young Park, a really strange, twisty sci-fi. It is translated from Korean, and yeah, I gave that 4 stars. It was good. The concept was great. It was like a combination of the Hunger Games meets Snowpiercer. But there were quite a few concepts brought in that never really went anywhere. I do know it's a duology, but there just wasn't really enough to keep me invested to read the sequel. After that, I read My Throat, an Open Grave by Tori Bovalino, which is her newest book. I gave that 3.5 stars. While I loved The Devil Makes Three, this one was just way too religious for me without any basis for it. Like, the town seems very cultish, with the religion aspect would fit, but it's never written or described as a cult. So it just seems like there's just one town in the middle of nowhere that is full of religious wackos. But then it brings in mythological and fantasy elements that didn't quite work. I would have either made it like a religious thriller with the main character trying to escape a cult, or I would have made it a fantasy book, a retelling of Labyrinth, which would have been just as good either way, if better really, in my opinion. So Tori Bovalino might be a decisive author for me because I've read one book that I gave 5 stars, one book that was very mid, and I do have Not Good for Maidens to read, which is a retelling of The Goblin Market. So we shall see where my opinion falls on her as an author. Then I read Blood on My Hands by Shannon O'Leary, which is an autobiography, very dark, very gory, very twisted. Definitely check out some trigger warnings if you're going to read it. But it was well worth the read. I then continued with the Human Mating Site series by B.R. Wilde. I read Mr. Boring and Mr. Nice, which I gave both of them 4.25 stars. Blood on My Hands, I give 3.5 stars. Yeah, the series is really good. They're short, romance, smutty novellas. We are coming up now to the end game of the series, which is what I'm really excited to see. But yeah, just cute, cozy, smutty little romance novellas, really good for breaking up bigger books or getting you out of a reading slump. I then had 2 DNFs, which were both non-fictions, which were At Every Depth by Tessa Hill and Women in Japanese Studies by Alyssa Friedman. Both of these suffered from the same thing. They were interesting in concept, but just way too long. In Women in Japanese Studies, after about 4 or 5 of the essays, they all started to sound the same. There was nothing unique or different about them, except their disciplines. At Every Depth was really interesting concept, but rather than talking about the parts of the ocean which were really interesting, what I wanted to learn more about, it just kept banging on about global warming and climate change, and I was bored. Then I read Tempt Me by K.A. Tucker, which is the first book in the Wolf Hotel series. I actually really enjoyed it, even though it's labelled as being a smutty romance, which it is. It's a very, very slow burn smutty romance. So for the majority of it, you don't get any smut until towards the end, which isn't normally my style, but I actually ended up really enjoying it. And then I capped off the month with Word Slip by Amanda Montal. Obviously, I recently read Cultish by Amanda Montal and really loved it. And I gave it 4 stars, the same as Tempt Me. It wasn't quite as entertaining as Cultish, but I really liked how she looked into the origins of words and how definitions and connotations of words change over time and with our society. So that was really interesting. So yeah, that was everything I read in February. I ended up reading 13 books overall. 2 of those were DNFs, but pretty good reading month for me. Going into March, I have already finished my first book, which is 13 Ways to Kill Lullaby Rock by Maud Wolfe. I'll talk about it more in my wrap-up, but very mid sci-fi-ish story. I'm now currently a quarter of the way through This Body Ain't Big Enough for the Both of Us by Edgar Cantero. I read Meddling Kids last year and really enjoyed it. And this one it's hilarious. There is so much going on. The only way I can describe the humour and how the pacing works in this book is it's very similar to Who Framed Roger Rabbit, if you've seen that movie. You know, dark, comedic, vaguely sexual, but absolute comedy from beginning to end. I absolutely love it, and it does have a really interesting concept as the main character we are following has genetic chimerism, basically meaning even though they have one body, they are 2 people within it. A bit like conjoined twins, but without the physical signs. So conjoined twins can distinctly be seen as two separate people, just joined together, whereas Kimrian in this is one person and looks like one person, but they are actually two people. So yeah, that's great so far. I'm hoping it will do what Meddling Kids did and really blow me away with the concept. Edgar Cantera's writing is amazing. So yeah, I can't wait to finish that. Hopefully today the audiobook is great as well. And then as for a general reading update, I have been collecting more and more books recently, but I'm reading less than I normally would. Normally, over the past couple of years, I've averaged 15 to 20 books a month, depending on the length. And in the past year or so, I barely hit 15 a month if I was lucky, unless I was reading a lot of manga or novellas. So I am once again trying to pick up the reading pace. So I'm going to do that this month by employing the good old spinner wheel. Yes, I am a mood reader, but the spinner wheel can kind of prompt me to pick up certain books on my TBR, depending on what I'm in the mood for. So you will be seeing that in the next couple of vlogs. So do stay tuned. I am going to try and update a bit more frequently in March. So do keep your eyes open, and I will speak to you again soon. So thanks for tuning in, guys, and I'll see you soon.